Hey, everybody, welcome to this month's Inner Circle. I'm so excited to have you back, and I'm really excited that we get a co-trainer here today, someone I've known for almost 20 years. She is a dear friend. It's going to be amazing. But before we get to that, last month, we had this theme called the Big Ask. That's with a K, Big Ask, with a K. I said that too fast the other day, and I saw someone go, whoa. And what we realize in life is we don't get what we hope for. We get what we ask for. But there's a million different ways to ask, and people we have to ask, from the permission, from the help to the assistance. Sometimes we even have to ask that person in the mirror, don't we? The one that feels like an imposter or is hesitating. So our guest today is going to be so good. And I can't wait to dive in, because she is a dear friend and she is a badass, and she's accomplished more than you could ever imagine. But she started off like me, like most of us, just as regular folks, just trying to do more, trying to live into their full potential. So we'll get to her in a moment, but I got to tell you, I'm so excited. Last month, you had Mr. Matthew McConaughey. Oh my God, wasn't that so good on journaling? I don't think anybody realizes the power of journaling. And obviously you did, because it went absolutely nuts. And here's the cool part. McConaughey's coming back next month because he wants to teach on why you should be more selfish. If you're a part of Road Trip, you know that's the last module, the last mile marker, but he wants to go deeper and share things he's never shared. So our guest gets to be bookended between McConaughey, which is amazing, and rightfully so. This month, as always, as a mastermind family member. Hey, everybody, good to see you. I see people popping on right now. What's going on? Light it up in the chat. As a mastermind member, remember, this is where you stay plugged in, right? I hate the silly analogy that I use too often. You can't go to the gym once in a while. You can't go for a weekend and work out like crazy and expect to stay in shape. You can't go on one date night with your spouse and have one day of listening. And then you have romance and passion for 20 years, right? We have to work on it. And that's why we built Mastermind, so you could stay plugged in. So you get a new course every month. So you get a new training live every month. You get Monday motivation, and you're a part of it. Like I said, last month was McConaughey. This month, I'll share that in a minute. Then next month, McConaughey's coming, and that's what it's like every single month, to keep you plugged in. And our goal here is, it's pretty transparent, to help you reach the person you're meant to be, not the one you're settling to be, the one you're meant to be. And then eventually do what our guest, myself, now Matthew McConaughey, Tony Robbins, and hundreds of thousands of others around the world do, is share what you know, impact others with your life experience. That's the journey we feel is the most fulfilling. So we're so excited. Oh, one last thing. I've been telling you, August 1st. Well, it's here. Well, at least you can register now. We're doing, Tony Robbins, myself, and some amazing guests. August 1st, we're doing the Own Your Future Challenge. Call it Own Your Future, because if you don't own your future, someone else will. We challenge you, because each day we're going to challenge you to take some cool action. Write this down. We'll come back to it later. OYF2023.com. OYF2023.com. Yeah, put it in the chat. OYF2023.com. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll talk more about it in a minute, but I've let my guest wait too long for my too long introduction. Without further ado, some of you already know her, Miss Marie Forleo. What's up, Marie?
Hi, Dean. Oh my goodness. It's so good to be here with you and with everyone. This is so exciting. And asking is huge. Being in the middle of a McConaughey sandwich is huge. And I love your emphasis. Like, it's ASK, it's a big ass month. More cushion for the pushing. I'm good. We're all good. We welcome all the sizes of booties. We love it.
So awesome. Marie, thank you for coming on. I know how busy you are. I know all that you're juggling. And I thought you were just the perfect person during the McConaughey event. For those of you, most of you saw it. Did Marie Forleo light it up? Could you put it in the chat? Did she light it up, or what? I was so proud of her. I was sitting in the back room watching you present. Matthew went first, you went second. And I was just like, damn, that's so good. Before we get into, and some of the things I want to talk about, I wrote down some things early this morning. I know my team put together some great questions that came in from the Mastermind family, but things like asking your significant other to support you, or at least not be negative in your crazy dreams, or asking for permission to go after your dreams, or asking for help when you want it, but you've been a strong woman or been raised to do your own thing. So asking feels a little weird, and even asking for a referral, things. Nothing happens without an ask, and I want to get to that. And I can't wait for your perspective on it. But before we get started, there are so many people here, Marie, that came because they know they're meant for more. Some are just searching what that means. Most and many are on the path to say, I want to be my best self. Then I want to sell what I know. I want to create a course or a workshop or be a coach or maybe write a book someday. That's been your journey. Maybe because you're such our demographic. You are our demographic. Maybe you could share a little bit about that journey and what, and then we'll get to the ask, I promise. But I'd love to hear, what were the big restrictions? What were the big worries? What were the big things in your way? And then what was the big aha as you were evolving in this?
Yeah, I'll tell you, the restrictions and the worries and the obstacles, there were so many. So much of it was my own internal self-doubt, not feeling worthy, Dean, not thinking that I had anything to share. And my journey was a little unique because I started in this business when I was around 23. And I had this big block in my mind. And again, this can pop up for us at any age. And it pops up for me still. I'm in my 40s. You know, I know it's going to pop up for me 60s, 70s, 80s, God bless, even further. But this notion that who am I to share anything? And the reason I bring up my age is just because it was a great, convenient excuse. Like, you're only 23 years old.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Right. Who the heck in their right mind is going to hire a 23-year-old life coach? You haven't even lived any life yet. Plus you're piles and piles and piles in debt. You've had all of these quote unquote dream jobs, but you've quit them and failed at them. You're just going to fail at this. And this was also in the late 90s. So coaching and training and online courses, like, it didn't even exist. It didn't exist. We had books. We had our dear friend, your best friend, Tony Robbins, like, he was there, but there was not really an industry that existed. So in my mind, I'm from Jersey. I have a very kind of sarcastic inner critic. And she's like, this is so stupid. Who the hell's going to, so I had all these voices.
I remember the same feeling.
Yes. Going like, this is so cheesy. This isn't legitimate. People are going to laugh at you. So there's like that whole level of obstacles. There was the fear that I wouldn't be good enough to actually help people, and the fear that I would put myself out there and that I would fail. Then there was the very logistical, real fear of not being able to make enough money to support myself. And, you kind of train that little thread.
Oh, right. So there's the both. There's the fear I'll look silly in front of my friends and family and I'm not good enough. And then there's a fear, can I freaking go buy groceries?
Correct.
Yeah.
So all of those layers. And then another one for me was the fact that, I had this beautiful blessing of being involved in one of the earliest coach training programs, Coach University. And they gave me one of the greatest gifts. They were like, look, you can be the best coach in the world. You can be able to transform people's lives. You can just be the best listener, ask the best questions, have the best content, be the most effective communicator. But if you don't also simultaneously master your ability to run a coaching business, you're never going to make the impact you were born to make. So then I had this other fear of like, holy shit, I don't know how to, sorry, Jersey Marie coming out. You don't know how to run a business, so there was that whole fear and all of those obstacles, and how am I going to figure that piece out? And is it going to cost a lot of money? So those were some of the obstacles, the fears, the concerns that were holding me back in the early days, that I really had to push through in order to, 22 years later, be where I am today. So for anyone that I ever meet, that's in this position and they're desirous of writing a book or starting to share their knowledge or being in a position where they can speak from a stage or anything like that, all these fears usually pop up for us. And again, it doesn't matter what age you're at or what stage of life you're at, those kind of things, they will pop up and they'll sound really convincing. Oh, you're too old. You're not relevant anymore. You don't get all this social media stuff. You don't have that, again, it's so cunning. All of those kind of core fears and concerns will just fit themselves into your life context at this point, but they're all pretty universal. So,
what's so funny? As you're saying that, I said, imagine if your inner voice had to actually finish the sentence, right? Marie, you're not good enough to do this. And then it was forced to say, because it's better for you to stay in a place where you work for someone else. You never live into your full potential. You get to the end of your life and you regret the fact that you didn't do your own thing. You didn't impact others and you were just one of the norm of everybody else. And when you look at your kids and your grandchildren, you realize you did not set the example you should have set for them or the people you love or the family member. Imagine if it was forced to finish the sentence. You'd be like, yeah, maybe I'm not good enough. And then when they were done, you're like, well, screw that. Because like, life is a pain in the ass no matter what you do. Can we just be frank here? You got New York and New Jersey in the house today, right? We grew up with the same kind of family in the same kind of area. In fact, Marie was at my house. We have a house in upstate New York. We just got done with it. Marie came over for my wife's birthday. I don't know, just a few weeks ago. It was amazing to see you out of context like that with a bunch of Italian people sitting around eating too much. But the fact of the matter is life is going to be hard. You're going to question yourself. You're going to have self-doubt. You're going to fail. So if you're going to do that, you might as well go out swinging. You might as well go down leaning into something that truly can bring you a sense of abundance, a sense of joy, like true happiness by impacting others. And that's what when people say to me, oh, you have your own business, it looks amazing. I'm like, no, there's hard times, but there's also hard times when you work for someone else and your boss has got their thumb on your forehead and you can't make your own decisions. You don't own your future. You don't own your calendar. You don't own your decisions. So if it's going to be a little tough, you might as well lean into you.
Yes. Can I add to that? My friend, Elizabeth Gilbert, and I actually think this came from the author, Mark Manson. And it's just a great analogy. And forgive me again, guys, if you have little ones around, put your earplugs in for a second. It's not terrible, but the notion is this, it's the metaphor. Like in life, you're going to have to eat some shit sandwiches. Like we all do. Do you know what I mean? And so and so you might as well choose the flavor of a poopy sandwich that is going to reap the biggest rewards emotionally, creatively, from your soul's level, financially. You know, that was a really big one for me. I know you and I, Dean, and I know a lot of folks listening right now, we did not grow up with a lot. You know, for me, money was such a source of scarcity and pain and fear. And there was just a lot of toughness around that topic. And now having gone through a lot of transformation in that realm, it's like, no, I will eat that poopy sandwich to have the kind of flexibility and the freedom and the ability. You know, I'll just say this transparently. I shared this with you. You know, I'd just gone through a really tough time with my folks not so long ago, helping them navigate some really challenging health situations. And we have loved ones, we have children, we have friends, we have family, aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone, right? Who you have to step up and you have to help them during their times of need. And I remember thinking to myself, Dean, I am so happy. I was so grateful to my past self for putting in the work because I could step into those roles and, you know, have the resources, both time-wise, financially, but also the networking resources. And that's why I'm so happy we're here in mastermind.com. And I'm here and I'm so happy that everyone's connected because I was able to pick up the phone and call folks and say, I don't know. And I know we'll get to this in the content, but I need help. I don't know what to do in this situation. Like this is literally for my mom, it was life or death. And it's bringing tears to my eyes because it was true. And like, I am used to I wrote a book called Everything is Figure Outable, you know, but I'm very sober to the fact that I don't know everything, but I know that there is an answer out there. And picking up the phone and sending texts and being genuine and saying like, I am on my knees right now and I need help. Can you help me? Or do you know someone who can help me? It made all the difference. It made all the difference.
You know, hold on, I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, guys, that's live. There's lots of allergies around here.
Yeah.
No, but God, there's a deeper byproduct. You know, I love these conversations, and please, everybody listening right now, really hear what Marie said. Like, if you really think through it, she got in a situation with her parents, and was able to reach out and to ask. And we're going to talk about asking today because so many of you right now in the chat say me, if you're hesitant to ask someone for help, you don't even know how to ask. You're used to doing your own thing. It feels weird to ask. It feels vulnerable to ask. It feels like when simultaneously nothing happens without an ask until you get a yes, until someone. So that's how crucial it is. And I want to tell you, as you were saying that, what came to mind is not only did you build connections through your years of following your dreams, even though they're a rocky road, right? You ate some shit sandwiches.
Yeah.
But also through the years of asking someone to work with you, asking someone to buy your book, asking someone to be a part of B School. Those asks, the more you did them, you realize when I ask, it benefits everybody.
Yes.
And you got more comfortable with the ask, because I bet to say if you were in your 20s or you had the same mindset, if your emotional intelligence didn't grow since you were 20s, you would have lived in the box and not asked anybody to help you with your parents. So I think there's a bigger byproduct to being a part of a family like this, being a part of doing your own thing. If it's not this, just do the thing that's your thing, because you get in the game and you get more resilience and you get more practice, right? What do they say about baseball players? They just need more swings. My son, he's trying out for the high school team and he hasn't reached puberty yet. And I feel bad. Kids on his team are 6 foot tall and he's still 5'2", right? And literally he had a coach helping him last week. And he said, buddy, just get in more swings. And it's just such a common sports theme. It's like, how do you get better at baseball? Swing the bat more. How do you get better at asking? Take the uncomfortable action to start asking, but do it in a more elegant way. And I thought maybe today we could talk about it. I got some great questions coming in from them, but I have some as well.
Yes.
I've been self-employed since I was 17, cutting firewood, but I've been in this industry of helping others, sharing what I know for 27 years. And I would bet to say the number one thing I get, especially from women, and I see it and this could be anybody, please no, I'm not trying to pinpoint because it could happen to everybody, but seeing it women 35 to say 50 saying, I'm ready for my next thing. I helped with the kids. I raised the kids. I shouldn't say I helped. I raised the kids. I was the one that helped it, plus my career or just the career. And I've done a lot of things for other people. I started this career because my parents paid for that college education. We got the kids and then I worked so we could pay the mortgage and put our kids. The kids are getting out of school. The job doesn't fill my heart anymore. I need to do my own thing, but my spouse thinks I'm crazy. What advice have you given? Because you help so many women, but what advice do you give women? And this is the same for men. It's all the same advice to ask your significant other to say, hey, even if it's not support me, don't knock me down for what I'm trying to do, be myself.
Yes.
I'll just leave it open-ended like that, because I'm sure you've heard this as well.
Yeah. And, this goes not only for the situation of you're going to make a big life change in terms of your career, which could potentially impact joint finances, your lifestyle, all of those things, but it could even go for kind of little requests in terms of the interaction, the dynamics in the relationship, or any change that you want to make that's outside of your habits and your past patterns that everyone's used to. This is a great phrase to start with. And I cannot say that it would work for all men, but I have seen it to have great impact. I'm just speaking from my own personal experience as a woman. When you start off the sentence and you say, it would be really meaningful to me. It would be really meaningful to me. And then we can start to fill in with different sentence stems. If we could sit down and have a conversation about this dream that I've had in my heart that I would love you to just listen to. I don't need you to give any input. We don't need to make any decisions, but I just want to express this because you're the most important person in my life. I love you so much. And I realize that there's something that I haven't expressed and I just want you to hear it. So it would be really meaningful to me if we could have a date night where I could tell you about this shift that I'm going to make. And I want to be vulnerable with you. It's really scary. And the thing that I would ask of you is to not give input and to just listen. It would be really meaningful to me if we could go take a walk around the block and I could start to share with you a little bit about this notion I've had about this business I want to start. And I know it could sound really scary, but if I could just share it and then maybe we can make another date and sit down and work together on some of the pros and cons, that would be great. So that phrase, and let's break down why it would be really meaningful to me, can have such a great impact, especially with your loved one, your significant other. Because in our relationships, our significant other, our husband, our wife, our partner, they want us to be happy. They want us to be fulfilled. Sure. And so, Dean, I'll ask you this on the spot. If Lisa came to you, right, and she had something in her heart and she said, Dean, babe, it would be really meaningful to me if you could start giving me a kiss and telling on the forehead every night before we went to bed. Wouldn't you be like, oh my God, yes. Like that's like the easiest thing, like, cause it would be so meaningful to her. Right. I mean, and again, tell me if I'm wrong with this one.
No.
Yeah. Any request, if she had that phrase in front of it, it would kind of put you in a position to go, wow, this is something really meaningful to Lisa. I want to listen up and hear what this is, that I could make my partner even more fulfilled or more happy. I don't know what it is about that phrase, but I've found it to be
God,
magical.
so good. I wrote that down. And if we go upstream, like two things, really, because this has been the number one question I've heard for 27 years. Men saying that, and both sides, right? Your spouse, I believe, in most cases, doesn't want you to feel restricted, doesn't want you to feel like you're missing out, wants you to live into your dreams. So I always looked at negotiating in a way where the best way is to try to wear the other person's glasses, right?
Yes.
Trent Shelton, our mutual friend, always says, God gave me this prescription. If you put my glasses on right now, Marie, you'd be like, well, I can't see, right? And what happens sometimes is and I watch this, you leave an event that Tony and I do, or you leave a Tony event or a Dean event or Marie Forleo, and you are on fire. You have 50-page of notes. You're like, I am doing this. It's about time for me. And then you go up home and you throw it up you vomit it all over your significant other. No, we're going to do this. And I'm going to do a morning routine, and I'm going to do meditation, and I'm going to start running, and I'm starting my business on Monday. I'm quitting the job on Tuesday. And the others, if they weren't involved in it in the process, they're like, whoa. And I think they immediately get sometimes resistant, hesitant.
Yes.
You come to for those going to be at the Own Your Future Challenge, believe me, at the end of 5 days, you're going to be vibrating, go, honey, we are doing this, right? So what would you say? I'd love to talk through it back and forth.
Yes.
I think sometimes the mistake people make is they try to go home or get off on a Zoom like this and try to translate it. And when they don't get, oh my God, I'm as excited as you feel like, I can't believe they support me. I don't think it's lack of support. They love you. They care about you. They just don't understand. You have a different set of glasses on, and they can't quite see through yours.
Yes. So there's a few things about that. I love that you're bringing this up. This is so good, because this applies too. I'm going to take it because we're going to use it in the context of this, because that's our context, right? Owning your future mastermind. I've also seen this in my case. You're changing your diet. You're changing your workout routine. You know what I mean? Like all the things.
What's going on with you? Yeah.
Yes. Right. You're like, we're going to start eating this way. I'm going to go in the fridge. I'm going to tear everything out. So one thing to remember, and this is so important, is you are not the boss of your spouse. You are not in charge of them. And like, you can come in, all this enthusiasm is beautiful. Yeah. All of this energy is beautiful, but don't lay it on them. You got it exactly right when you said they don't understand, because they didn't just have the experience that you had. One of the tricks that I like to use for myself, even though Josh and I, my partner, Josh, we've been together 2 decades, and he knows, we're very intimate. He knows if I'm going to go away, I'm going to come back with books. I'm going to come back with new ideas, he's used to it by now. However, I have learned the lesson to be the change, right? To start doing the things, and to do it in such a way that's loving and non-judgmental. And here's what I mean. When we get hyped up,
I love this.
You know what I mean? You get hyped up on personal development. You get hyped up on, I get it. Again, I live and breathe this stuff. This is my thing. This is my DNA. But I've watched myself over the years. I can get, a little uppity. Like, I know better. I just read the science on this. We should be doing that. And it's like, no one rises or gets enthused or feels pulled in from any level of judgment. Tony says this all the time. You can't change your life if you're judging someone. That's why he's one of the most effective coaches in the world, right? Because when he's loving people through, and then maybe sharing a perspective. So taking it back to what I was sharing, you come home from an event, you could own your future. Oh my God, we're going to do this. If you start waking up and doing a morning routine, and rather than flipping yourself out of bed, I don't have time for you, you kiss your spouse. You say, oh my God, I love you so much, honey. I've got this new exciting thing I'm doing. I'm going to be back in 2 hours. And then you go off and you do your morning routine and you start working on it. And then you come back and you're even more loving and more attentive. All of a sudden they're going to be like, what's
going on here?
Yes. What's going on? So it's the way that you show up. Now, of course, there's practicalities to this, right? This is where we start to dance with our methodology. If it's like, well, I need to, he's going to have to agree, or she's going to have to agree, it's going to impact our finances. This is where we start to have those conversations where it would be really meaningful to me if we could set a date and have a conversation about something I'm really excited about. And then I want to add on, right? So let's add another layer of nuance here. When you share an idea, like, so let's say, for instance, you're like, I know it in my heart. I have to start this business. I'm not sure of the timeline yet, but I know it's got to be soon. And you start to kind of lay out your idea. Then invite them. I want to move ahead and I want to do this. And I want us to do this as a team, as much as that makes sense. What are your concerns? What makes you nervous?
Yeah,
What
right. You're
comes up
addressing them right out of the gate. And especially when you voice your concerns, sometimes they're silly, but they kind of
Yes.
come out of here, out to the world, so you can actually communicate about them.
That's right. So asking your partner so you can hear their concerns. I just want to hear it. You don't have to judge it. You don't have to bat them down. You don't have to overcome their objections. Let your partner be heard and mirror them. Mirror them. So Dean, if you said to me, well, Marie, gosh, that idea sounds great, but we've got this big mortgage. We just made this commitment to renovate the house. Like, how do you see all the money coming? I say, okay, Dean, let me see if I got that. So one of your concerns is we've got this big mortgage. You're right. And we just committed to this renovation. You're absolutely right. So you're wondering how we're going to kind of make this all work financially. Is that, did I get that? And you'd probably say, yeah, Marie, you got that. I say, okay, great. I don't have the answer right now, but let's write that down. Because that's something we can work on.
We figured out. Yeah.
That's exactly right. But you would feel heard rather than me coming back going, Dean, don't worry about it. The universe is abundant. There's so many clients out there. We're going to be able to do it. I got the marketing set. Don't even worry. You would feel shut down.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is relationship 101, but it's so important in this part, because if you don't have your significant other on board,
yes,
it is a difficult thing. It's just we were talking about it earlier. It's like, it's the last feather on the scale that tips you to go, I'll just stay where I'm at. Even though I'm not happy where I'm at, I'll stay. And guess what happens if you stay? Resentment.
And you start shriveling and you start holding back. That's right. Resentment. You become a deadened version of yourself. You start holding back love. You start holding back attention. You start losing energy. Your health can take a hit. Like, there's so many downstream effects of not following through on your dreams, when the how-to isn't to bulldoze over your partner or not listen to them or just tsunami them with enthusiasm and possibility. It's inviting them into the conversation. It's hearing their concerns, and it's taking it at a pace where it can work for them. And I know we're talking to, like, everybody's listening right now. Everyone has unique situations, but what about this? What about that? But if you take the essence of what we're saying and you really custom tailor it to you, it can make such a huge difference. And look, at the end of the day, you may not need your partner to be 100% on board, but if you love them through their resistance and you start doing your work on the side, and the way that you show up with them is not with resentment or with judgment, but with love, they're eventually going to either get on board and be like, whoa, this is amazing. Or you might see that there's some other deeper work that needs to be done in the relationship, which is outside of your ability to pursue your business.
I so think this is worth spending the time, because as you were saying, it's almost like, if you just start living it, it's almost like they're looking over your shoulder going, hey, why is she so happy right now? Why is she glowing? I love when, you've been to Tony events. Tony's dear friend of yours, been my best friend for so long. And I've been to events and I watch people, he'll stand up and he loves doing the breakthroughs. Right. And I love, and this is the last part of this, then I want to get to the next ask. But somebody will talk about their relationship and they had built this resentment of too many years of, well, I wanted to do this and he never had my back, or I wanted to do this and she thought I was crazy. So I stayed with the job, I paid the mortgage, and now it's her fault. No, it's his fault. Right. And man, there is nothing more. My business has exponentially grown since I've been with my wife. And I think you see a difference of being with my wife. Like, it's the first time in my life I have a true partner, and that has had no negative recourse or negative words towards my previous relationship, my previous marriage. Has nothing to do with it. I'm a better version of me, right? And it's because we're aligned, because I'm doing some of the things we're doing today. My wife thinks I'm insane. Well, simultaneously, when I explain it to her and slow it down and share, she's like, you have to do that, don't you, babe? I'm like, yeah. She's like, all right, I got you. So what's that going to be different? And that is just like, it is rocket fuel for my life. So I think it's so important. And the last thing I was going to say with Tony is, he'll get somebody and they'll go, it's his fault, it's her fault. And they'll go, and she'll say, what if you don't try to convince him or her to do anything different? What if you just spent the next 90 days pretending it was like the first 90 days? Yeah, but does he deserve that? I'm like, hey, he's like, whoa. I'm not talking about him. I'm not asking you to get permission from him to be the best version of you. What if you didn't keep score? What if you just became that best version of yourself? Then let's talk in 90 days. Because that's what Tony says. He's like, 30 days in, he'll be like, or she'll be like, what the hell's going on here? What is going on? And then you're like, well, I better step up my game. So this went a lot deeper on that one ask, but I think it's so crucially important because there's nothing like having alignment. Of course, this works with parents, with siblings, with other people in your life. And I just want to throw one more thing in. Another big thing I see with people even wanting to grow, Marie, to say, I'm into personal development. I'm listening to this book. I'm reading this. I'm doing this new routine. I am considering doing my own thing online. You know, COVID gave us a curse and a gift. The curse, we all know all the craziness one. The gift is so many people were home and said, I want to stay here. My kids deserve, my husband, my wife, my family deserves, I could do something from home. So it gave so many people that gift, but they just didn't know where to start, where to go. Right. And I see so many times when people ask friends, if the friend is happy or content or really certain they have to stay where they are, they will, we already used the word shit, so I'm just going to say it again. Excuse me, everybody. They will shit on your dreams without even realizing it, right? And so many people will say, God, I want to do this. My friends are going to think I'm crazy. And what if I did something on social, or if I said I was writing a book, or I became a consultant, or I coach people on getting through their marriages? Like, how would you ask a friend who you love dearly and you want their support, but you're not getting it? How would you ask them to, if they're not going to support you, would you at least ask them not to kind of poop on your dreams? Like, I'm sure you've been in that situation as you've grown, Marie.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I think this is really interesting. So I want to step back a bit because I think that sometimes we as humans want from others what they are not capable or willing to give us. Now,
wow, true.
I have beautiful friends in my life. I have beautiful people in my life. And I am a big proponent of trusting your own inner wisdom and listening to it. So I am certain, and I know that there are particular people in my phone list that I am not going to share certain information with. They are beautiful humans. They are awesome humans, but I've had enough of a track record with them that I understand their set. I understand how they respond. Do you know what I mean? I understand what the reaction's going to be. And so I have certain types of conversations with them. I don't feel held back. I've just learned. And there's only a very small, little tiny, I'm talking minuscule, Dean, like 1 to 2 people that I have the level of open friendship with, where literally I can be my complete, most vulnerable self and I can share those dreams. And I only take it to those people, if that makes sense. So that's not to, and we'll dive into the ask part because there is a way to.
Sometimes it's having a filter, right?
It is.
Because there are certain people, when you ask, what results you're going to get, and you're going to get frustrated when you get it. So that is the definition of insanity completely.
Yes. So for most of us, and I feel this, I watch it rise within myself. I get an idea or there's something I want to share and I'm so excited about it that I want to pick up the phone and text somebody or call somebody or just like have that conversation. Right. And I've made the mistake enough times of wanting to, it's like a selfish thing. It's like, I need to get this out. I need to share this. I want to have somebody reflect it back to me and have this vibe. And I wind up going on my phone list and literally dialing the exact person. I've done this in the past. I don't do this anymore. That either wasn't going to be available or it's just like, it's not their jam. The response that I am going to get back, that's not how they communicate with me. That's not their strong suit. I have one friend in particular I'm thinking of right now who literally, whether it's like my lowest low or my highest high, she has a skill set of being able to like get down in it with me. And like, I feel so seen and we just roll around in it. Do you know what I mean? Like that's her gift. Or if there's an enormous wind, it's called upriding. She will upride the wind.
To make sure you appreciate it as much as you should.
She builds it out. She's like, you did this. Do you even know what it took to do that? And then there's this other part you're not even seeing. Can we celebrate? And we literally run around on our phones, like dancing, screaming, because she knows how to upride a dream and break it apart and show you the details of it. And I walk away feeling like higher than a kite. And there's
Wow.
other friends that they just don't have that skill set. Does that make sense? So
Completely.
you have to, rather than how do you ask for support, can you ask your higher self for the wisdom of which friend to reach out to? And if you just got one, consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky.
God, I tell my team all the time, it's not only what you ask and how you ask, it's also when you ask. And now I'm going to add it's who. We have
Yes.
to also who, right? Because
Yes.
I know, listen, my dad went through the Depression. He was the youngest of 12 kids, grew up in a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. How did 12 kids grow up in farmhouses back then? It doesn't even seem possible. He had oatmeal till he was 12. So he went through the Depression. So he's got this scarcity mindset. My whole childhood, if I told my dad, I'm talking 20s, 30s, even when I was in my 40s, if I told my dad the next business, he'd go, Dean, I am so proud of you for what you've done, but this is the one that's going to make you go bankrupt. I'm telling you, this is the one. Dean, listen to me. Stop. No. You're a hustler. I'm so proud of you. Everybody's proud of you. Dean, this is the one you're going to flip upside down. You're going to lose it all. I have to be the fool. He doesn't say that anymore because history has now he's just, it's a completely different world. But I knew that. And for years, I was like the kid hitting himself in the thumb with a hammer and going, ow, it hurts every time I hit it, Marie. Hold on a second. Don't. Ow, God damn it. Don't. Why is it continue? Like every time I'd ask him, then I would doubt myself and go, well, shit, maybe I bit off more than I could chew. I didn't college. I'm not the nicest. Maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world. God, maybe I did hit my threshold. Maybe so finally I got to a point. I'm sorry, I'm a slow learner where I'm just not going to talk to my dad about that ever again. I'm going to talk to my dad about what he did when he was in the Korean War and what he did when he was in the 70s. He went to Studio 54 and danced on tables. My dad was a partier, had the Italian horn, and his shirt was unbuttoned down to his belly. It was like those pictures in a perm, like literally, right? So all I got to do is talk to my dad about the 70s in Studio 54, or when he was in the war with Korea, or when I was a kid and he took me fishing. If I talk to my dad about my next big business, he will go white. And so I had to learn that. And it just never hit me that who is so crucial for the ask. Like we have so many great questions for you guys on the ask, but we also, and maybe we could talk about that. I teach my team. It's like, of course, what you're going to ask now, who, how,
yes,
when is really important. Like when, like it's like
dive into that a little bit. Yeah,
please.
there's a couple things. One, just to put a little tag. If someone's like, yeah, but I don't have any friends that are that intuitive. So let me answer for that. If you're looking to a friend for support and you have a feeling they're like one of those people who are not going to shut you down, but you could just say, hey, I would really love to share something with you. I need about 15 minutes of your time. Let me know when it's good for you. And here's what support looks like. So let them know.
Oh yeah, you're framing it. You're pre-framing it.
People aren't mind readers, right? So if you're like, all I need you to do is listen to this. And what would be most meaningful to me is if after I tell you this idea, even if you think it's like cuckoo pants, you could just say, Marie, what an exciting idea. Tell me more. Or Marie, this sounds so cool. I've never heard of anything like it. Like, where'd you learn? Just be curious with me, or whatever is the kind of framework of support that would be the most meaningful to you. If you don't have that friend or those handful of friends like I do, who you could just throw it at them and they're going to play ball with you. If you don't have that, set people up for success. That's how you ask for support, but have people not go like, I don't know what the hell she wants. Like, does she want me to be, super honest and go, I don't think you should do this. You know what I mean? So let people know what support looks like specifically and ask them when they have the time to really dive into it with you. Can they be in a place that's, and then you have to be mature and have your big girl or your big boy, your big person pants on and wait. Because sometimes we're like, but we want it now. Like, you're texting Ben.
That's the part I try to teach. It's like my 14-year-old son. I come home from work. I'm trying to end my day so I can wind down. And he's been waiting all day to ask me something, wants to buy something or go on. And I come in, I'm on a call. The little ones run up. My wife wants to say hi. And my son's been waiting all day to ask me this. And I teach him. And I'm like, bud, hold on a second. I can't even think about that. And he's like, Dad, I've been teaching for a long time. I'm like, dude, when the right thing is, you and I go do something. We go work out. I've been working out with them. We're working out. We're in a perfect state. I'm teaching. Like, you could slip that ask in right in the middle of when dad is in dad phase. I'm proud of my son. You're working out hard. You look amazing. You got into the high school you wanted on your own. You could tell me about your straight A's and then go, oh, by the way, I worked really hard this summer in summer school. My son's a straight A student and elected to take summer school. Who does that? I wouldn't, right? Like I said, brag, literally, I just told him 2 weeks ago, brag about your grades, brag that you went to summer school, brag that you didn't miss a day. You haven't had a B since 5th grade. And then at the end go, hey, dad, by the way, this summer, can I get that scooter that's $1,500 because all my friends have one? I said, that's the time, right? So I literally teach him like, he's like, that makes sense, dad. Okay, I'll do that. And I watch my daughter, she learned it. She'll text me and go, hey, dad, how you doing? I'm like, I wonder if this is just an I love you or it's, and she'll go, miss you, what's going on? And then it'll be like, hey, can I go? I'm like, it's my daughter. She learned from me. And the reason I'm saying that is because sometimes you get so excited to ask a friend, a spouse, a relative, someone in your life for help, for support, to have your back, and you're not reading the room. They may have just gotten done with a really tough day or a really, stressful day. Like we didn't put their glasses on to know the worries, the thoughts, the things going on in their mind. And we just want ours to be full attention and it's important to us. So make sure, we're talking about an ask and how to ask. There are ways to ask. We're talking about that, but really all these other variables are equally as important. Who you ask, when you ask, how do you ask? Can you stack it? Are you listening? Right? If you go to ask somebody and they want to tell you something, be quiet for a minute and let them share. It makes a difference. Any thoughts on the when?
Yeah. So I think that just because we're such a texting society now, if it is a text ask, saying, hey, how are you? If this is now, let's take it outside of someone that right? So an immediate friend or a family member or someone very close to you. This is something that most people do not do, and it will change your life if you do it. If anyone that happens to be on social media, even if they're like more of a colleague, right? Or if they're more of someone who has any type of social sharing whatsoever, they don't necessarily have to be a public figure, but just someone who tends to share something on any platform, go check their platforms. I cannot tell you the times where I've shared something, and me, Dean, I am hardly ever on the social media. Yep. Like I love creating content, but personally, I don't open apps. I just don't. I love living life outside, but I share content on social media. Like I share with my community. And there's been times when I'm like, holy cow, someone makes an ask me. I'm like, you didn't even check. And you didn't take 3 seconds to scope out that I'm actually, that's right. That I'm on vacation for 2 weeks and you're like rolling in with this real big ask, but you didn't even take 4 seconds to look, or that I shared if I'm going through a health challenge or my family or something. Like I'm pretty transparent. Do you know what I mean? But like not even looking for context. Anyone who knows me, it's like I send out a newsletter every week. Like, have you read anything I've written lately? Or are you just rolling up like, boom, like this is what I need from you. It's like, not really, dude. No.
So good.
Yeah, please. I'll be quiet there. But like your friends, they might share like, oh my gosh, my cat just got diagnosed with so-and-so. Like people put stuff online. And if there's someone you haven't talked to in a little bit, even if it's not a huge ask, take 4 minutes and see if there's anything that they've shared recently that you could say, wow, I saw you were in Portugal 2 months ago. How was that trip? How you been? If you've got 10 minutes over the next week or so, I would love to talk to you. It'll only take 10 minutes. I have something I need your advice about, something I'm looking to work forward on, or do you know what? There's just such a context that you can set to let someone know that they're a human. You've checked in on them. You understand a little bit about what may be going on in their life. And then you set them up to either say yes, like give them some space. Would you be interested? Could I get your advice? It would only take 10 minutes. Do you have any time over the next week or two? What would work for you? So you're thinking of them, that notion of putting someone else's glass on.
Like drop the mic on that one, because sometimes we get so in our head of what we need to do for our passion, and you should, for our dream, for our goals, and you should. Well, simultaneously, you have to live inside the mind of the person you're going to go after. One of the greatest gifts I've ever received is understanding the value of reciprocity. And am I perfect at it? No, guilty of probably messing up on that with certain people in my life, but I really try to give first, or feel like not keeping score, but just read the room of what, like you said, whether traveling or not. Meaning when I first got introduced to Tony Robbins, Now you got to understand, Tony was someone who I bought his course 27 years ago. He made an impact in my life. And I remember journaling, saying something, I just want to shake his hand and say, thank you. Right. Somebody introduces us. I fly down to Florida. I meet with them for like 2 hours. We were going to go for an hour. We went for like 8 hours. We went through 3 meals sitting outside of his house, and we just became friends, and we've been talking ever since. But long story short, I remember that his course made such an impact in my life. Simultaneously, I'm sharing this for a reason. The lesson I learned, people always ask me, how'd your relationship go so deep with Tony? I got to be around him a lot, and I watched so many people asking. He'd be like, hey, Tone, we should partner. You should endorse this. This is a drink you should have. This, you should put me on your stage. If we partnered on this thing. And I watched so much of this happen in the first year, Marie. I said, I'm never doing a partnership with Tony. I love him as a friend, and I'm not going to ask. I don't need him. I'm okay. He's definitely okay. I'm doing fantastic. I'm not going to ask. But I remember how we started our relationship. There was 2 things that I saw in his business, his amazing business, that I knew I could improve upon because it was my core competency. And I just crafted it was a follow-up sequence. After UPW, you go to UPW, your life freaking transforms, right? And then after, I didn't find the emails. I wanted more. So I wrote a 5 or 15 emails, 5 video sequence. I recorded the videos. I wrote the emails. I did all of it. I gave it to him as a gift and his team. And he's like, what's this for? I'm like, because you changed my life 27 years ago. And I think you're missing this, and I'm good at that. And I remember he was a joke, and he took a picture of his credit card and he sent to me, and he said, charge whatever you want, because that is going to be massive for my team. So I wrote back, I'm like, only charge it for $1 million. And then I waited like an hour and put, haha, right? But I love when I'm at a phase in my life where people DM me just like you do every single day, asking for something. Be on my podcast, do this. We should partner. You should fund this. And I find the ones that simply say, hey, Dean, I saw you and your wife are in New York. I'm from upstate New York. And if there's anything I can do, I'm a landscaper. If there's anything I can do, anything I can help you. Like those people, I immediately reply to and go, nothing right now, and it's like they find out that they want to be in our business or they read our book, and that's cool. And I enjoy that. But somebody says, hey, you should be on my podcast because we can make millions together. I don't even reply to those.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about understand what the person's going. That's a note for me. I want to do that more, but also remember reciprocity. You're asking for something. Could you do something in advance through your heart? And the last thing I'll say, I said before, the greatest gift was reciprocity. That's not really the greatest gift given to me. The greatest gift is not keeping score with what you do for other people. If Tony Robbins and I never did partnership, we never did work, I still would have felt amazing by giving that to him, because God, karma, whatever you believe in, you do enough for other people. You might not get the deal with the person you did so much for, but out of the blue, you get a tap on the shoulder and there's a deal and you wonder where that came from. I think the universe keeps score. You shouldn't.
Yes. 100%. 100%. And it's like, we have a saying on our team. I love mantras. It's one of my favorite things. As you know, my brain, like all of our brains, entrepreneurial brains, can go in a million different directions at many different times. So mantras are some things that help me really stay focused. And so in context of this conversation, what we say on our team all the time is, if you don't ASK, you don't GET. If you don't ASK, you don't GET. So we have that as just like a fun thing when we're talking about ideas on our team, to go like, oh, wow, who could be on the podcast? Or, hey, if we don't ASK, we don't GET. And then there's a lightness of spirit that I think should also go along with this conversation, of understanding that if someone says no, or they don't reply, that it's not a no to you personally.
Oh my God.
A follow-up. Do you know what I mean? Of like, you never know what's happening in someone's life. And I actually just learned this yesterday. A recent conversation was a great conversation with Jack Canfield, actually. And he was saying that one of the things that we can do is, when you do say no to someone, because everyone on this call right now listening, of course, we're teaching you how to ask, but you're also going to have people ask things of you, right? That's how the world works. And one of the things that I thought was so cool that he had shared, he said, I like to decline like this. I need to say no, but my no is not to you or your project or your energy or what you're asking. You're amazing, and I want it to succeed. My no is actually a yes to me based on my current priorities right now.
Wow, so good.
And I was like, I just literally, we were talking about that, and I was like, yes, because there is so much elegance. But I wanted to bring that up because sometimes if someone doesn't respond to your ask, if someone says no, again, not understanding what they're going through. They may, like, something horrible may have happened. They may have had that last feather where it was like the last straw on the camel's back of the day. And you happen to slide in with the ask, and they didn't have the patience in that moment. They were a little on edge in that moment. They may have either not responded, deleted, or said no harshly. Please do not take it personally. Most humans, right? They want the best for you, and they are doing the best that they can. And one thing, we were talking about this off camera, talking about eating the poopy sandwiches, right? No matter how successful someone is, folks these days, we're all under a lot of pressure. We're all under a lot of stress.
Yeah.
We've
all got what
someone
else is going through.
You don't. We got a lot of things pulling at us. So please don't take it personally. There's been people that have shown up in my world who they're like, oh my gosh, Marie, I wanted you on my podcast for years, and finally it's here. It's like, it's all about timing, and they're like, we also appreciate that your team was always so gracious in the no's, because they let us know what you were working on, that you had focus, that you had these focus blocks, and that you weren't going to pull yourself out of it. So I just want to say that in this bigger conversation.
I love that. It's so true. Because again, the reason I was saying we had so many questions come in, and a big one was about rejection. Janet said, my biggest challenge is fear of being rejected when I ask. I want to not care so much when I'm rejected, but I do. How do I stop that? And you just answered it. How do I get over the fear if someone doesn't say yes to me? And you just answered that so great. So Janet and everybody else that shared that.
Can I want you to, this is another one of my tips. My friends tell me I'm great at this, so I want to share it because they love when I do this. So whenever I am making an ask of people, and everyone has a fear of rejection, I have it too. But here's what I always do. When I reach out to someone who I don't know that well, or who I'm like, oh, I don't want to be a pain in the butt. I understand how challenging their schedule is. Here's what I say. I say, look, I'm going to ask this of you. And this is true from my heart. If you are not into this, no worries. Just let me know. If this is a no for you for any reason, I will take no offense. Just let me know. So this way I won't keep following up, because I like to be pleasantly persistent. I like to follow up until I get a no. And I'm not going to be irritated with the person. I'm not going to rub it in their face. Like, I haven't heard from you in 5 weeks. No, I'm just going to say, hey, just checking back in. Let me know if this is of any interest. If it's not, it's 100% okay. Just let me know so that I won't keep following up. And that's a beautiful way to put out an ask. And when people do that and they give you this open door to say no, and you don't have to feel
so heavy.
That's right. You get an answer faster, and then you can move on. And I
use the word zero stress. If it's a no, zero stress. I've texted that to you.
Yes.
Tony and I are doing an event, and Tony will say, hey, Marie, want to do this one? I'm like, let me text her. I'm like, Marie, we're doing this event. But as always, zero stress if you got other things going on in your life.
Yes.
Right. Yes. And it really does help. I have one more question I want to ask, because we covered a lot of them without saying names, but there was another one. Catherine asked, she said, I was raised to be an independent woman. I never learned that it was okay to ask for help. So how do I become comfortable with asking? Now, I know we covered that in so many ways. You started off by asks that you've done recently for your family, and I think we've answered that, but that was the number one question. So that's what I want to make sure. My team gave me in the list of what was number one. Number one was, I'm a strong, independent person. I don't ask, but I know I need help.
So here would be my recommendation: to make a game out of this, to make this super fun, and to not just ask for like important stuff. So to ask when you're going into the grocery store. So for example, I learned in the top of 2020 that I can no longer have gluten, which as an Italian American, as you know, Dean, that was like, what? Anyway, I will go into stores now or restaurants or whatever. And so I'm always gently getting comfortable asking, because I have that in me too. I don't want to be a pain in the butt, because I know how hard everyone's working and they're trying to make everyone happy. I don't want to be that person who's like, I can't have this, I can't have that. You know what I mean? Making the chefs in the kitchen just bonker pants. But I go into stores and I ask, hey, I'm just curious. Do you guys do gluten-free pizza? Hey, I'm just curious. Could you tell me about X, Y, and Z? Hey, I'm just curious. I need help finding whatever. So I practice asking in very low stakes situations so that it just rolls off my tongue a lot more easily. Does that make sense?
Good. So it's at bats. We go all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, my son. Just get more at bats.
More at bats. And then with your team, you could say, hey, I need some help with, are you able to help me? Or friends or colleagues, hey, I'm working on this email sequence. I would love your help. Can I get 15 minutes of just your eyes over these things to see if there's anything that catches you? So do it in these low stakes kind of situations, and you start to practice. You get your nomenclature down, you get your language down, you get your cadence down, and you start to see what gets responses and what doesn't. So then when the stakes get higher, and you got a big ask, you're like, oh, I got this. The at-bats, you're there, you're in it.
Oh my God, Marie, we're going to end it at that. Not so good. Thank you for taking this time today. The ask, and don't go anywhere. We still got a couple of things, but thank you. Look at the comments have been amazing. I know how busy you are, but this is a really important thing. You know, when we decide what the topic is for a month at Mastermind, it really comes from our tens of thousands of clients and emails that come in nonstop. And it's like, I'm at a place where I'm stuck, not because I don't have the content, not because I don't have passion, it's like a big one was because I'm afraid to ask. I'm afraid to let people know what I'm doing. I'm afraid to be the version of me that I dream about, that I think about in the mirror. You know, we had one woman write in and say, when my kids were young, how long it's been, my kids are teenagers. And she said, how long it's been, I've been wanting to do my own thing. That I used to, and this made me sad, not sad, and made me, as you know, you're the same way, want to work harder to get people that what they need. She said, it's been so long that I've been wanting to do my own thing that I remember using my kids' crayons, and on the back of their colorings, I would draw logos and ideas. And her kids were in their teens. And I was like, well, you know what? We can't go back to yesterday, but we are here now. Like, I love that saying, you know, what's the best time to plant a tree? A decade ago. What's the second best time? Today. Yeah, like, yes. Right. So
right now.
So who cares about yesterday? Maybe you needed to be here to hear Marie today or something we said. And like I always say on the inner circles, take what serves you today, throw the rest away or park the rest for later. But if there was something today Marie said or something I shared that was like, oh, that's good, then write it down, go listen to this again, write it down and take action on it this week. I challenge you to take action on it this week. Thank you for being a part of the Mastermind family. Remember, August 1st is the Own Your Future Challenge. It's the only 5-day challenge Tony and I do all year. You're invited for free. You go to oyf2023.com. Our Mastermind family represents, they light it up. You got Tony Robbins and Jim Quick and myself on day 1. Day 2, you got Jay Shetty, Trent Shelton. You got so many amazing guests coming. But day 1, if you love what we talk about today, Tony dives into those old beliefs. I don't know if there's anybody better than Tony doing that, Marie, right?
Absolutely.
Day 1, I will be sitting there literally taking notes like crazy. And when do you get the chance to learn from all these amazing people for free? But if there's any self-doubt, limiting beliefs, things that have held you back in the past, make sure you are absolutely there day 1. Like I said, this event is free. You're invited for free, oyf2023.com. And remember, the 3rd week of August, Mr. McConaughey is back, all kinds of fun stuff from our family to yours. We wish you the best. We'll see you on August 1st. Marie Forleo, thank you so much. Any last words?
Just that I love you, Dean. I love this whole community. Thank you so much for your presence and your attention today. And I can't wait to watch everyone grow. Keep us posted. Keep me posted. Tag me on social.
Right. Marie, thank you so much. Everybody, see you next month.